It's understandable the longer this case goes. We'll proceed now with the defense's case.
Thank you, Your Honor, also known as Buster murder.
Holy shit.
The testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Thank you. You'll have a seat up on the witness stand. Adjust your chair and your microphone. And if you'll state your full name and spell your last name.
Richard Alexander Murdughs, Jr., M-U-R-D-A-U-G-H. I go by Buster.
Mr. Murdughs, is your father sitting over here at the defense table?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury a little bit about yourself. Where you born, where you raised, where'd you go to school?
Right. So my name is Buster, 26 years old. I live in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I was born in Savannah and lived in Beaufort for about 2 years when I was a little child. We moved to Hampton in about 2000, and I grew up in Hampton, went to Wade Hampton High School, and after high school I went to a small college in Spartanburg called Wofford.
Is your mother Maggie?
Yes, sir.
And your brother Paul?
Yes, sir.
When you moved to Hampton, do you remember how old you were when you first moved to Hampton?
Three or four.
Okay. And did you live in Hampton in a house in the city limits?
Yes, sir.
The town limits?
Yes, sir.
And you did that with your mom and dad and brother for how long?
For around 20 years.
Right. What schools did you go to coming up through in Hampton County? What did you go to grade school?
Went to Ben Hazel Primary School, Hampton Elementary School, North District Middle School, Wade Hampton High School.
Okay. And as you were growing up, what were your interests, Buster?
Sports, playing sports, doing things outdoors, hunting, fishing.
And was your father involved in those interests with you?
Yes, sir.
And was your mother also?
Yes, sir.
And in what way?
Well, my father coached every Little League team I played on up until had a coach.
And what about Paul? What were his interests growing up?
Paul's interests were outdoors, mostly hunting, fishing, playing around in the woods.
Right. Did he also play sports at times?
He did. Yeah, he played basketball and baseball.
Did your dad coach him as well?
He did.
And would your parents attend all of your and Paul's sporting events as you're growing up?
Every game. And it was a rarity for them to miss one, and then if they had to, they would call and explain. And
right. And at some point in time, did your parents buy this?
Not sure if you could see, but I'm building this table right here.
Property off Moselle Road.
yes, sir.
You remember roughly when that was?
Right around 2012, I think. I would have been a sophomore in high school.
And when that property was first purchased, did you move out to Moselle, or are you still living in Hampton?
So we had a house in Hampton and also purchased the property at Moselle, which had a house. And for the beginning stages of owning Moselle, Hampton was still working as our primary residence. But I believe it was Hurricane Matthew, or one of the hurricanes came through and blew a bunch of pine trees over on the house. So it had to get work done to it. And from that point, we moved out from Hampton to Moselle while the house was getting fixed, and more or less it just kind of, it never transitioned back to Hampton. It just almost like Moselle became the primary residence.
And during this time, did your family also have a house at Eddystone?
Yes, sir.
How frequently would,
Almost every week.
while you were still in high school or
Yes.
school? Do you remember when you transitioned to Moselle and started staying there basically full time during the school year?
So when I was still in high school, we were living in the Hampton house, and then I'd gone off to college.
Okay.
Which is when the stuff happened, and they moved out to Moselle. So I was living at college.
And when did you go off to college?
2014.
Okay, so sometime after around 2014, family relocated to Moselle for the most part
That's right.
because of the hurricane damage. Is
Yes,
that-
sir.
Okay. Tell the jury a little bit about the Moselle property. I know they've heard a fair amount, but I think you probably know it better than anybody.
Yeah, so the Moselle property it's roughly 1,700 acres, and a lot of that is really not even accessible. It's a lot of swamplands, a lot of stuff that you just, no road systems or anything like that. But a big portion of it is has road systems and everything, and it's a big property. It's broken up into several different parcels that border each other, and we have 20 some odd deer stands, dove fields, duck ponds, just all over the property. So
What type of hunting did you and your brother and your father do at Moselle?
everything: deer, duck, quail, dove, hogs.
You have a duck pond?
We have a duck pond.
Okay. And the hunting was, did you have a lot of friends come out and hunt as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the jury has seen a aerial view of the property, and there's a main house, there's shed, kennels, and then there's a house sort of right on Moselle Road. What do you call that house?
The summer of my sophomore year, after my sophomore year, me and two of my buddies lived in the cabin.
Okay. And who are those buddies?
Nolan Tootin and Rogan Gibson.
Okay. And the so we can get more to this. We've heard about hogs and pigs on the property. Can you tell the jury a little bit about that?
About the hogs?
Yes, sir.
We had a lot of hogs, and if you don't know, hogs are very destructive to a piece of property. We plant food plots for the deer, plant the fields for the doves and the ducks, and they basically go through and ruin it all. So given the high population of hogs, we would frequently go out and hunt them, try to cut the numbers down. A lot of guns.
Do you have shotguns?
We did. Shotguns.
Do you have 12-gauge shotguns?
12 gauge mag, 7mm 08, 308, 243, 223, 300 blackout.
And what type of ammo did you keep on the property?
Well, I mean, all ammos for those calibers.
Sure. And where were the guns kept primarily?
In the gun room at the main house at Moselle.
And was there a pool table in the gun room?
There was.
Okay. Were there times when guns were left elsewhere on the property?
Yes.
Where else on the property would guns be left?
Well, just myself. I mean, I've not always find their way back to the gun room.
How about
Not good.
what do you mean by that?
He would. Paul left guns probably more on the property than anybody else, and sometimes sometimes he would use my gun and then he would leave it, and then I'd have to track it down.
Right. Did Paul carry guns in his truck?
He did.
Would he keep his truck locked up?
No, not all the time.
Did at some point in time you and Paul receive 300 blackouts for Christmas?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember roughly, was that 2016 or 2017?
Sounds right.
Okay. And what color was your 300 blackout?
It was black.
And have you been sitting in this courtroom during the entire trial?
Yes, sir.
And the jury's seen a black 300 blackout. Is that yours?
It is. That is my 300 blackout.
Was that the one you got for Christmas?
Yes, sir.
And what color was Paul's?
Paul's was black and tan.
And when you say black and tan, what part was tan and what part was black?
So the receiver would have been tan, and I think, and barrel would have been tan.
What part would have been black?
Stock, maybe?
Okay. And so yours was all black, his was black and tan.
That's right.
What happened to his that he got for Christmas in 2016? Or
His gun was apparently stolen, lost, taken. Yeah.
How do you know that?
That's just what Paul told me.
What happened to your gun after Paul's was stolen?
My gun became, what we would both use.
And did that create some confrontation between you two at times?
Yes, sir.
And why?
Well, kind of like I just touched on. So he would use it. He's not very good about putting it back where he found it. I leave it somewhere. I go back and, want to get it, and it's not there.
Did you notice, were you aware that Paul got a replacement at some point in time?
No, sir.
Well, you heard about that in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Trial? Okay. But up to that point, did you ever see Paul use the replacement?
No, sir. I've never seen a replacement.
So every time in your presence Paul was using a 300 blackout, which one would it be?
Mine.
There's, I'm not going to pull these guns out, Buster, but there's been discussion, and the jury has seen a 12-gauge Benelli with a Mojo sticker on it. Whose gun is that?
That's mine.
And what's Mojo?
Mojo is a brand of decoy. It's basically what it is it's, say you buy a wood duck Mojo and it sits on a pole, but the wings are motorized, so it's to replicate, a more alive duck.
And did you, why does your Benelli have a Mojo sticker on it?
Because I bought a Mojo decoy, and in the box it came with a sticker, and I put the sticker on the gun barrel.
And so that way that's your gun.
That's right.
I believe the evidence in the case is that Mojo Benelli, when it was seized, was loaded. Did you frequently put the gun away loaded?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Knowing that I might need it again at any point.
Okay.
Just, put it back on the shelf. I kept the safety on.
Okay. And I think it was loaded with a 3-inch and a 3.5-inch turkey load. Do you remember that you would load that gun with a 3-inch and a 3.5-inch?
Yes, sir.
And why would you do that?
I do that because when I go turkey hunting, the goal is to, get the turkey close to you and shoot it in the first try. But if I were to miss and the turkey goes running away and I try to shoot it again, I put a bigger shell, larger shell, behind the smaller one for that purpose.
Okay. And that's something you commonly did?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever load in a 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 28 gauge, a buckshot followed by a bird shot?
No, sir. I've never done that.
Have you ever known anybody to do that?
No, sir.
Do you know of any reason to do that?
No, I can't think of any reason to do that.
And specifically, have you ever loaded in any gun a buckshot followed by dry lock steel waterfowl pellet?
I have not.
You've known anybody to do that?
No, sir.
You know any reason to do that?
No, sir.
Okay. And you ever seen any guns on your property loaded in that fashion?
No, sir.
Buckshot with some sort of bird shot right behind it?
No, sir.
The jury's heard testimony about goings and comings, which way you go in and go out at Moselle. How many entrances were there at Moselle? 2
entrances.
And will you describe the 2 entrances?
So the main entrance is pretty much straight out of the front door of the house. You would go down a dirt road, and then you would come up on big brick columns, and that's what I refer to as the main entrance. But down by the kennels is another entrance. and that one is a little bit different. That one has the mailbox beside it, and those are the two entrances.
Okay. So let's talk about coming onto the property. Which entrance coming onto the property would your mother normally take?
I would say normally everybody took the main entrance, unless that there was a reason that you needed to go down the other one, which for her reasons of going down the other one would be the mailbox, and also when we got packages delivered from Amazon, they actually would go to the shed as opposed to the house.
So your deliveries would go not to the yellow or whatever white house that you lived in, but down at the shed.
That's right.
Okay. Now, leaving Moselle, the property, which way would you, Alex, your mom, Paul normally go leaving Moselle?
Out of the main gate.
Okay. And if you're going to Alameda, which way do you turn coming out of the main gate?
To the right.
The in 2020, 2021, during the summer months, where did your mother prefer to stay?
At Edisto.
And where were you staying, say, in the spring, summer of 2021? Where were you living?
Spring, Moselle.
And then summer, where'd you move to? Or,
I was down at Edisto a lot in the summer.
okay. And then, and where was Paul living in the, say, spring of 2021?
Is he saying spring of 20 or 21?
21. Now, maybe I said the wrong thing. In the spring of 2021, where were you living?
Spring of 2021.
Did you have an apartment in Columbia?
Yes, I did have an apartment in
You
Columbia.
split time between Columbia and Moselle,
Yes, sir.
and you have a girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then in the summer of 2021, well, in June, where were you living?
Between Columbia and between Rock Hill.
Okay. And who lived in Rock Hill?
My girlfriend's mom.
And then in the spring up through June of 2021, where was Paul living?
In Columbia.
He had an apartment in Columbia?
Yes, sir.
And was he enrolled at University of South Carolina in the spring of 2021?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then once school got out, do you know where Paul relocated to? Anywhere?
No, not exactly. I know that. I think he went down to live with John Marvin. He was working for him for the summertime.
And who's John Marvin?
My uncle.
And what kind of business does John Marvin have?
He has a rental business, and he sells Kubota tractors.
And where does he have store locations?
One in Okatee, one in Hampton.
And was Paul working at the Ogatee location?
Yes.
Just sort of backing up, did you and your dad and mother and brother Paul do a lot of things with your mother's family, the Brandstetters?
Yes, sir.
What type of things would y'all do?
Well, we gather every holiday, and other than that, we would do trips together. We would go down to Key West, go over to my Aunt Mary and Uncle Bart's lake house, river house, just
Right.
stuff like that. Take trips, family trips.
And I'm just going to pull up on the screen, Doug, Defendant's Exhibit 122, which is in evidence, Your Honor. And Buster, take a look on the screen, and I believe your Aunt Marion testified about this. Can you tell the jury what this photo is?
This is a photo of me and my brother and my mom and my dad.
And was this taken in, I think, May 21? You were up for a baby shower, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where was this?
So this is this is at Lake Kiwi in a community called the Reserve.
Okay. And y'all are visiting with whom?
With my aunt and uncle, Aunt Mary and Uncle Bart.
And for what purpose?
For my oldest cousin's baby shower.
All right. And was events like this unusual or
No,
fairly
sir.
frequent?
They're common.
And was your father close with Maggie's dad, your grandfather, Papa T, as it's been heard in this, it's been known in this courtroom?
Yes, sir, he was.
And what kind of things would they do together?
They would do a lot together. For a long time, there was my grandfather had a camping trip, and Papa T frequented the camping trip. He liked that. Dad and Papa T would go to Carolina sporting events together, play golf together.
And did you spend a lot of time with your dad and your grandfather, Papa T?
Yes, sir.
You play golf with him?
Yes, sir.
We'll get to that in a little bit. And let's talk about your dad's side of the family. Was it a close-knit family?
Yes, sir.
And your grandfather, your dad's father, his name was what?
Handsome.
Handsome. And that was a nickname, I think?
Yes, sir. It's what grandchildren called him.
Everybody.
Well, it started as grandchildren called him, and then all of our friends started calling him that.
But that was Randolph Murdoch?
Yes, sir.
And then your grandmother's name, Libby?
Yes, sir.
And they live close by, is that correct?
That's right.
Where do they live?
Almeda.
And in relation to, I guess, Hampton, where's Almeda?
So straight down 278, like you're going to Yemisi.
Okay. And how far away is it from, say, the law office of PMPED to your grandparents' house?
Right.
Roughly how far is that?
10 minutes.
Okay. And how far of a drive would it have been from your house in Hampton?
I mean, roughly the same.
Right. And you know roughly how far of a drive it would have been from the house in Moselle?
Probably more like 20. 25 maybe.
And did you and your mom and your dad and your brother Paul spend a lot of time with the Murdoch side of the family?
Yes, sir.
And what would y'all do together?
Similar stuff, obviously gathering during the holidays, various things like that. We would take trips with that side of the family as well. You know, get out everybody, rent a big house, you know, meet up on the water on the weekends. Just a lot of stuff going on with that side of the family as well.
And so I guess let's go back and, well, let's identify on your dad's side of the family. Did your dad have brothers and sisters?
Yes, sir.
Who are they?
John Marvin, Randy, and Lynn.
Okay. And then John Marvin, Randy, and Lynn had children, did they?
Yes, sir.
So he had a lot of cousins?
Yes, sir.
And families would get together, those cousins and aunts and uncles?
That's right.
Okay. And was there property down on Chichesi that y'all would spend time at?
Yes, sir. That was the family river house, Chichesi.
And where is that located?
So it's located in Okatee, Waters Avenue, off the Chichesi River.
Right.
It's pretty desolate.
The in the spring, in May and June of 2021, what was your grandfather Handsome's health condition as you knew it?
Not good. He wasn't in good health.
What did you understand his health problems to be?
I understand he had cancer, and I understood that, you know, he was having a pretty big battle with it.
And what was your grandmother? What did you call your grandmother?
M.
Yes,
sir.
What health issues did she have in May and June of 2021?
She has Alzheimer's.
And would your dad frequently check on Handsome and M?
Yes, sir.
Would
He
you go with your dad to check on Handsome and M?
I would occasionally go with them too. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what times of day would you go with your dad to check on your grandparents?
It could have been any time. Went over at lunch a lot of times. Went over in the evenings a lot. Just no real set schedule. Just kind of mosey on over there.
When would your mother go with your dad?
She would, not regularly, but she went.
Would Paul stop in and check on your grandparents?
Yes, sir.
Was that fairly regularly for something Paul to do? To
Yeah,
knowledge?
Paul would do it regularly as well.
When you would go with your dad in the evenings, and maybe it's not limited to the evenings, where would you park when you go visit your grandparents?
For the most part, just like a ordinary afternoon visit, park in the garage, the carport. But if we went over a little bit later, and be able to enter through the back door.
Okay. And what's at the back side of the house?
So when you walk in the back side, it's like we call it a sunroom, but it's a dining table. It's got a TV in there.
Pull up page 38 from State's Exhibit 524, please. That's in evidence. I believe it is. Page 38. Yes. And that's page 38? So, Buster, this is from State's Exhibit 524, which is in evidence, which is the GPS data off the OnStar provided from General Motors. And can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what's that house?
So that's my grandparents' house at Alameda.
All right. And these dots in the back, and I'm going to point to this line of dots just right next to the circle that Doug drew. Do you see them? They seem to be connected right here on the far right?
Yes, sir.
Where is that on the property?
So that's right off the back corner of the house.
Is that a place where you'd normally park to go in the back of the house?
Yes, sir. That is where.
Have you parked there yourself?
I have.
Have you seen other family members park there?
I have.
Is that a customary place to park when you go in the back door where the kitchen sunroom is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to show you some photos, which are exhibits 130 to 136. And I want to ask you if you can just identify them. Don't show them to the jury, but just tell us what those photographs are of.
So these photos are of the area we're talking about, off the back corner of the house in Alameda.
All right. Your Honor, this time I move defendant's exhibits 130 through 136 in evidence.
No objection. They are admitted.
Thank you. So, Doug, please pull up exhibit 133. And Buster, tell us what 133 is, please.
Yeah, so this is the back door entrance to where I was just talking about, to enter into the sunroom kitchen, into the kind of back quarters where my grandparents' bedrooms were.
All right, and if you'll pull up 134, Doug, please. And what's 134?
Same thing, same backside of the property, just a little bit of a different angle.
So the part of the house to the right of the photo, what's that? Can you see here?
Yeah, so that right there would be my grandparents' bedroom.
Okay, so that's in the evening, your grandparents would be in that part of the house, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you went to the garage entrance, what would happen? What would be required of your grandparents or some sitter to let you in?
Yeah, so you could go and knock, but a lot of times they're in the back part of the house and they don't hear you, so you normally call and say like, hey, I'm at the front, I need to be, let in. And they'd have to walk from the back to the front, unlock the door, and let you in.
But if you're in the back, how far is the walk?
Quarter of the distance it would be to walk to it's very short.
And was it common to go in the back door?
Yes, sir.
And is it? And then I'm going to show you Exhibit 131. Please pull that up, Doug. So, Your Honor, can you step down off the stand and point to the jury where? So, Buster, step aside so that the jury you're not blocking their view. I don't have a pointer, but can you point out in this photo where you would normally park? All right, point out to the jury where you normally park to go into the.
So you would park, right about here, coming right off basically the corner of the house, and this is the same stairway to go up to the back door.
So you'd park in the grass?
Yes, sir.
And near that satellite dish? Or not near the satellite dish?
Yeah,
Objection.
Where would you park in relation to the satellite?